Hello guys, welcome back to another ReZero video. It's like 2 seconds in, I already messed up the video. Anyway, welcome back to another ReZero video. Now, I know these videos are few and far between, but there are reasons for that, and let me explain before we actually get into the video. One, I'm not getting many views, and I am playing a little bit with fire here, trying to add an additional game to my channel, hoping the YouTube algorithm doesn't punish me. Two, I am still kind of struggling to get to grips with this game's time frame, when the news comes out, when I should post that news for people. Like as soon as it seems like Twitter, their Twitter account posts news on different days all the time. It's crazy. I don't understand. So if anyone knows what days the news drops so I can get it out as early to you non-Japanese speakers as possible, I would be ever so grateful. And thirdly, I'm still playing catch up with my account, which is why there's been a severe lack of gameplay videos on this game. I'm a month behind, but I'm doing my best. I am catching up slowly. There will be gameplay videos eventually. In saying that, today we're going to be covering the Lost in Memory Discord's PvE tier list. Now, I'm starting with PvE because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the current meta for PvP and what changes currently happened to change the meta from what it was to what it is. And then couple that with trying to understand why each unit is strong, why each unit may be weak. Include translations in that, and it's a big headache and it's a lot of work. Anyway, I should disclaimer, this is not my tier list. None of these are my tier lists, but saying that, I should have been there when the tier list was made. Not that I would have had very helpful input, I don't think, but having looked at the tier lists, I can say that even with my limited knowledge or current level of knowledge, the core of the tier list is pretty similar to how I would place it. So I'm perfectly happy to take that tier list and just give it a look over and share with you guys why these units are ranked what they are. Now, I'm going to show you the tier list, and it does look a little something like this. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of units on that tier list. I'm not going over all of them. Let's be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going over all of those units. This video is going to focus on only the double S tier. Even the S tier is too long. We're just going to focus solely on the double S tier because all 4 of those units are general pool units. In fact, I'm pretty sure there haven't been any time limited units just yet. Unless the Halloween units counted as time limited, I'm not sure. But you can re-roll an account and get any combination of those double S units in there and be good to go. Me personally, I have 3 out of 4 of those double S units. 2 of them I got in a reroll, and the Subaru I actually got recently. The Felt, however, I don't have. Anyway, so let's get started. We're going to start with the Amelia. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain why. I'm going to go over the unit and then explain why they are double S tier units. Now, before I do that, I should explain PvE in itself promotes boss nuking. If you want any further information on that, essentially what I'm saying is setting up a scenario in which you can push out as much damage in a minimal amount of time as possible, solely for the purpose of destroying the boss and nothing else, is what's promoted in this game. Because if you beat the boss, the stage is over. Doesn't matter if the minions are left standing, it doesn't matter, if you've lost a couple of units yourself, as long as you beat that boss, you win. It's game over for them. In saying that, let's get into the review. Now, first of all, I'm going to say right now, the Amelia artwork's really cool. In fact, all the artwork for this game is beautiful as hell. But these Christmas units that are coming, there's some serious fan service going on, I'm just saying. Anyway, so we're going to look at the stats here, and I will tell you that at 1526 maximum attack, not including a complete memory board or skill levels, 1526 has to be one of the highest attack stats I think I've seen in the game. I may be wrong, correct me if I am, please. But even out of the 4 double S units in this tier list, I think this Amelia has the highest attack. I'm not going to go over none of the other stats. I think that was just the important one to point out. You can have a look yourself what these stats are. They're perfectly here on the screen. But we're going to go into the skills for now. So, a basic skill. I'm just going to be going over what they do at maximum level, by the way, because this is assuming you have these units maxed out. Now, I'm not including limit broken or, sorry, the limit break parts of the memory board, which is like the dupe system, which is similar to how it works in Dokkan. Each upgraded limit break unlocks a quarter of a special board that unlocks additional stats. I'm pretty sure I just confused that topic a little bit more, but either way, this doesn't include if you've got dupes in the unit. This is just if you've got them to level 70 and maybe completed the memory board to level 4. But her basic skill magically attacks a single enemy with 400% power and has a 100% chance of dealing continuous damage for 2 turns. So 400% is a decently high percentage modifier, coupled with her high attack stat and then damage over time for 2 turns. I will say I don't know what the percentage of damage over time is in comparison to, like, what does it come from? Like, does it do, say, 10% of the overall damage she did with the attack itself? I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. I'm gonna remove the tier list so you can actually see the skills here. Sorry about that. Now you can read the skills along with me. Her skill 1 at max has a 2-turn cooldown and magically attacks a single enemy with 400% power. So it's a 600% power and has a 100% chance to freeze. This is important in PvP, especially if you're fighting as the undercard here. And when I say that, I mean if you're fighting above your team's power level, like I have to do currently. Saving these skills for when you really need them is going to be essential. So for example, in some of the subjugation events, I've had to use this skill when the boss is about to use a heavy hitting attack in the same turn as, or the same rotation of turns as Emilia. This means that Emilia can stun and then that the boss misses their turn for this rotation and I am safe for a few more turns. So having ailment as well as such a high damage modifier, again coupled with the high base attack stat, she's going to put out heavy amounts of damage, and as I've already said, nuking is the way forward, so damage is the key. And then we go to her skill 2 right here. Hopefully my head isn't in the way. 5-turn cooldown at max, magically attacks all enemies 3 times with 234% power on each and has a 50% chance of dealing 3 turns of continuous damage. Now, these 234% may seem like a very low modifier, but that's 234% 3 times each. So if you were to basically take the 234%, multiply by 3, that's the damage you would get from just a 1-hit modifier, and also has a 100% chance, a 50% chance of dealing damage over time. Even written as such a low modifier, it hits, man. At maxed out, if you've got all of her skill levels increased to a stupid, like, all of it, like, put it this way. If you have all of her skills at level 10, that means she unlocks the bonus skill of level 3, which gives her an additional 30% attack. She's nuking everything, and I mean everything, and that's basically why she's on the SS tier list. Her leader skill is a little bit underwhelming given her kit, but that's because HP isn't really as relevant as damage output in PvE. So now we're going to move on to the next. Okay, so as you can see, we've moved on to Subaru, and that's because he's the next one in the list on the Discord. So I'm not going in any particular order when it comes to the actual tier list itself. We're just going through the Discord. Now I'm going to put this away so you can read the skills. Subaru has 1218 attack. That's okay. Nothing well, I wouldn't say nothing spectacular. That's decent, but like I said, it's not as high as Emilia. We're going to go over the skills well, I say real quick. I want to try and make this as quick as possible. I don't want a 20-minute video going over the tier list, especially if it's just SS that I'm covering. So his basic skill physically attacks a single enemy for 400% damage, decent percentage, with a 100% chance of applying taunt for to an enemy for 2 turns. Sorry, I read that completely backwards. Anyway, now I know this sort of goes against the whole nuking scenario, but if you can taunt a boss into leaving your DPS alone, because let's be real, if your DPS is hits as hard as you think, then the balance there would be that they have a little bit less health, or you want your DPS to live as long as possible. So taunting also prevents them from casting skills, and that's where you want to go there, because if they lower action gauge with their skills or anything like that, then you are pretty screwed. So Subaru here has the benefit of allowing you to not be prevented from using your own skills, if that makes sense, in any shape or form. Anyway, so his skill 1 is a passive skill. When he dies, he revives with 50% of his maximum HP. So basically he has a get out of death free card, just like the anime. What do you know? That in itself is just crazy. So it's a level of survivability that isn't sort of essential, but really helps. Now finally, his skill 2, a 5-turn cooldown, attacks a single enemy with 800% power and has a 100% chance to grant attack reduction, defense reduction, and quickness reduction. Listen, anything that lowers quickness and defense when you're trying to nuke the enemy, ensuring that you go first and they take more damage, is fine by me. And having that 800% modifier on there too, boy, that's gonna hurt. So you just hit the boss with that, got lower defense, lower quickness, and you know, he's about to get messed up real bad. Now I will say this, Subaru's leader skill right now is one of the largest reasons I believe he's amazing. I was gonna say amazeballs, no, amazing in PvE. And then you look at his bonus skills, he also gains an additional 30% attack if you max out all of his skills. So definitely a lot of damage to be done there. He also brings utility there so that the rest of your team can provide more damage. Moving on. Okay, now this is the only unit out of the 4 SS units that I do not have. Excuse me while I take a drink. Felt having just under 1300 attack stat here. Let me put that tier list away so you can see everything again. Just under 1300 attack stat. 171 agility is a very it's a stat you need to look at, essentially. Now why I say that is because unlike other games, agility actually matters in PvE as well, because it affects turn rotation. Now your action gauge fills up. When it fills up, it's essentially a race against time as to who goes first. So if your action gauge fills up at the same time as an enemy, whoever has the highest agility or quickness in this case will go first. So having a higher quickness is obviously beneficial in PvP and PvE. Now skills. So I know that was a mouthful. Basic skill. Physically attacks a single enemy twice with 200% power and has a 100% chance to grant a self-agility enhancement for 2 turns. So making yourself faster, always a good thing. Not much in terms of utility for a team, but this is not based on how well they work in a team. This is how good they are based on just how good they are. Skill 1. 2-turn cooldown, physically attacks a single enemy with 600% power and has a 100% chance to increase SA action gauge by 20% for all allies. Essentially what I'm saying here is she increases the entire team's action gauge by 20%. That means it fills up faster. If it fills up before the enemy, that means they go first anyway, and the agility race isn't as clutch, but still matters. So pushing your team in order to go before the enemy is always going to be powerful as hell, and that's in PvP and PvE. Action gauge is such a core mechanic in the game. If you know how to manipulate it, you're always going to come out on top. So skill 2. Physically attacks a single enemy 4 times with 250% power on each hit and has a 100% chance to reduce attack. But for 100% chance to reduce attack, I assume that was meant to be and reduce defense for 2 turns. Okay, so attack. So it reduces attack and defense as well as hits 4 times with 250% power. That, my friend, it adds up. Okay, it adds up. Plus the ailment debuffs and stuff. Oh mate, there's no way you can turn around and tell me that skill 2 isn't great, because it is, even though my head's blocking basically most of the writing there. Her leader skill, not bad. It's a little bit more niche, not niche, sorry. It's a little bit, it's not as broad as the Subaru, obviously granting 35% attack to all enemies. He only grants 35% attack to green allies, sorry. but she does gain a 10% attack buff and a 20% agility buff through her skill levels. Now let's move on to the final unit. Okay, so here we have the original Beatrice to the game. Only one other Beatrice exists, and that was the Halloween one. I happen to have both. I'm very happy because Beatrice is like cute. Being a purple unit gives her a huge advantage anyway, means more damage to different types and less damage received from different types. So let's have a look at the stats. That requires me to remove the tier list for you guys, and my nose is itchy. Sorry about that. 1408 attack, so decently high attack stat in general. A 156 agility, not fantastic, but not too bad either. So let's look at these skills. Basic skill: physically attacks a single enemy for 400% power and has a 100% chance of dealing continuous damage for 2 turns. So basically identical to the Amelia, she just has a lower attack stat. Skill 1. Physically attacks a single enemy for 600% power and has a 100% chance to stun and inflict damage over time, 2 turns. So that's 2 skills, both damage over time. The second one applies a stun. So again, very similar to the Amelia. If you use her skill 2 appropriately, it will come in clutch and save you a lot of damage being received, and probably speed up how fast you can kill bosses anyway. Skill 2. A 4-turn cooldown magically attacks a single enemy 3 times for 467% power and each hit for each hit, and a 100% chance to apply stun as well as buff seal the enemy for 2 turns. This is crazy. Okay, so even in PvE the enemies do buff themselves. Being able to seal those buffs, I think that's a little bit of an underappreciated ability right there. But 100% chance to apply a stun. Again, ailment clutch. If you don't finish them that turn, it allows you to continue to the next turn, get your attacks in faster. But the big one here for me is 467% damage 3 times. So much damage. She basically is the nuke king for single target abilities. Now it's different here. Like if you're coming from the Danmachi guys here, where AoE and single target have a different percent modifier, I don't think that is the case here. I think it does the same damage regardless, and it's all based on that percentage. She's gonna hurt, man. Her leader skill increases debuff success power by 40%. That is crazily strong, especially if you have someone on the team lowering defense at all. And then the bonus skills increasing HP, giving an additional 20% attack and the 30% crit chance. Crazy, that in itself. And she has a very high crit rate in itself, like by herself. So that being said, that is all of the double S units. I hope you understand, or I explained well enough why they are double S. Essentially all of them promote and accommodate your team to be able to nuke bosses and clear PvE content a lot easier and a lot faster. So if you are new and you haven't done yet, I do have a reroll guide. Please go and watch that. If you don't know how to, rerolling takes a few minutes. Make sure you reroll and get at least one of these units. I would aim for the Amelia, given that she does have AoE capabilities, and you never know when that's going to come in handy. But that is going to be everything, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to drop a like if you did, subscribe if you're not. Social media links will be in the description. But as always, I love you, and I'll catch you later.